I can't screw this thing up, so we'll wait on a few more people to get in here and we'll go to the drawing. I'll show y'all how I get this set up. So if you got any questions or anything, just drop it down there in the live chat and we'll address them now. Hey everybody, I'm just trying to wait on a few more. If there's going to be a few more come in, then we'll get this drawing going on. So hopefully everybody commented on that video to get registered, and because I went through all the comments and I put them all on a random wheel of names. We got all the Geo people in here now. And we got Bobby over in South Carolina, Frizzell Racing there. Got good old Jeremy Jenkins. So hopefully, a few more will tune in. So I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with this live video. So we'll just we'll try it. So I am going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show y'all, since there's a few of you in here, some things I had made. So I had these stickers made here. And they're going to be part of the giveaway today. And I had this bumper sticker made too. So I guess, guys, we got about 8 people watching, so we'll go ahead and I'll set this up here and try to get this where y'all can see it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to shuffle this a few times. Just for clarification that nothing funny is going on. So. And we will click on this thing and get it spinning and see who wins. So it looks like our winner is J Crow 7013 or JC Row 7013. So this is your username right here. I went through the comments on the video. If this is your username, send I'll put the email in the chat down here. Send me an email to HotRodGuyGarage@gmail.com, just like it's spelled out on my YouTube. And I'll get together with you and I'll pick out something special just for you. And I'm also going to send you a set of these stickers that I had made here also. So, and I'll also make another video, guys, when I pick out the item that suits them the best. And it will be some kind of collectible item. So hopefully they'll contact me. If I don't hear anything from them, I'll go back live again. We'll spin this thing again, and we'll pick another winner. So I'll give him 24 hours to send an email. So you guys, if you tag him in the live chat, or her, or but as you can tell, I have no clue what I'm doing with live chat, so it's almost dangerous. But at least I figure out how to flip the camera around and actually show it live this time, instead of having to do a video and then trying to do it over Facebook and have a mess. So go through our comments here, which we're on a shaky phone mount, so it don't look like our winner has commented or anything. So hopefully they'll see this. So typical Tennessee weather, guys. It's pouring down rain outside. Didn't get to mow the yard today, so I need to do it. But so if anybody has any questions, guys, shoot them down in the chat below, and I'll try to address them. And if not, we're going to jump off here in just a couple minutes, because I don't really have anything to talk about, and I would really just try to pick our winner. And oh yeah, it's definitely not dry here. So I'll show you all that. Which it's been, super rainy all week. Well, let's just say all summer. That's about the way it usually is. So flip this around. But yeah. Good old Tennessee weather. At least it's cooled off a little bit. So I was kind of hoping our winner would tune in today. But like I said, guys, I'll give him 24 to 48 hours to contact me. And hopefully I can pick out something special just for them. Like I said before, people's asked me what I'm giving away, and I really don't know. I just want to pick something that somebody will actually enjoy and, might be proud to have. Kind of like when your grandmother gives you socks for Christmas, and you really wanted that toy when you were a kid. So hopefully they got some kind of cool project, and maybe I got something cool that they might be able to use laying around the garage or something. But I am also going to give them some kind of collectible, cool item. But I guess, guys, this is going to be probably the end of this chat, I guess. And because, I'm just kind of killing time at this point. So it's been a long day, and it's about dinner time. So I'm probably going to put out a new video on the Mustang. If anybody's followed along the turbo Fox body Mustang that I've been working on in the shop, I'm probably going to post an update video on it tomorrow. Probably not a Grand National video until next week sometime. But I don't know if we're going to have another how to make your Geo Metro faster video this week. It just depends on how the weather holds out. Obviously, you can't drive it in the rain on that slick. So. Well, Bradley, that'll probably be about never. You can't shoot 300 horsepower. So I guess I don't know if this is still on. I don't know if we're still live or not. There's something popped up on my screen, said error or something, or technical problem. But yeah, you can't spray 300 on a 50 horsepower motor, so it'd just instantly kill it, more than likely. Which, I don't know, it's either got a 30 or 40 or a 50 jet set up in it right now, so we'll just have to see what it does. Good deal. Yeah, I didn't know it like popped up all crazy on the screen. And like I said, this is the first one of these I've ever done, so I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. So sometimes you just got to wing it and see what happens. So oh, it's definitely going to do something. Unfortunately, with our traction issues, you know, we just not been able to break into that magic 8-second, 1/8 mile number that I've been shooting for this whole time. We got enough mile an hour to get there. We just don't have 60 foot. Hi, Ted. Thanks, Auto Salvage Outlaws. Yeah, I got 1,000 subscribers, but we're still super lacking on watch hours. We're barely halfway there. So if anybody's got any downtime, you know, listen videos playing in the background or something. Yeah, it seems to be that way on the watch hours. So, anybody got any other questions or anything before we jump out of here? Oh yeah, it definitely takes time. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody watching. I'm gonna mind over motor there. Well, the solid motor mounts seem to help the 60 foot quite a bit. At this point, it really needs a dedicated drag tire on it. The autocross slicks that I have on the car, while they're a good sticky tire, they're not a drag tire. They don't have a soft sidewall. So what happens there is when you shock it, you don't have no sidewall to absorb the shock. But the motor mounts help quite a bit. I'm just not sure if it's, you know, I've done everything that I know to do to suspension set up on it. Yeah, solid shocks in the rear. It is locked out in the rear. It only has about a 1/2 inch of suspension movement in the rear. And it's raised as high as it will go in its stock form. To the point where it almost looks kind of goofy, and I really don't like the way it looks. But I'm probably going to try to pull, and this is going to be in a later episode, I'm probably going to end up maybe cutting it off at the firewall and doing a chrome moly tubular frame, maybe an aluminum floor to get some more weight off the back of the car. I just don't know how far I'm going to go yet. But yeah, I've had the front strap down on it too. Yeah, I do need to get a set of 15-inch wheels. I've actually been looking for a set. Not really. I got to find something that fits the way I want it to. But I would really like to stay with a 13-inch setup just because of weight, and that way I could have more sidewall. But we may have to go the 15-inch route. But if the motor survives spraying the nitrous through it and stuff, we're going to get kind of really wild with it there for a little while. But I've got a lot of stuff in the works in the background for it, and I just don't know how long it's going to last. Because you got to remember, we have over 500 plus 8-mile passes on it at this point. That's not counting the testing and tuning stuff that I do without the draggy actually in the car. Surprisingly, the transmission's held up well other than breaking the carrier in it. That was because I tried to get a little greedy with launching it. But I do have a spare sitting here on the floor, just in case. And I almost anticipate the clutch letting loose before the transmission actually grenades itself. Even though it's a 4-puck metallic clutch, it's still an eBay special. But they say it's supposed to hold about 250 horsepower. Oh, I'm sure Andrew's probably got some hidden in his pile there. That'd give me an excuse to come see you again anyway. I ought to bring you that automatic transmission, let you tear it down and see what you find inside of it. I just don't have the time to tear it down. Really wish it would have lasted a little longer in this journey. Because I'm pretty sure the transmission's probably still fine. I think it's the torque converter that died in it. Oh yeah, if you've never been to Potter's little compound over there, he has quite that little geo honey hole over there. Probably the most I've ever seen in one place. Yeah, that 410 transmission would probably actually be good to put back in the one that I actually drove to your house that day. Even though the second gear synchronizer seemed to have freed back up and it shifts in the second fine now, so not real sure what's going on with that one. But the little, I guess it's 439 that I put in Project Freetro, it's been a trooper so far. Which this other transmission is probably a 379. It's out of the 97, 98 4-cylinder 5-speed car. So that's probably what I should have put in the car. That way it'd kill some of the low end power. Because the problem with 60 foot is definitely not it having power. And it actually blows tires off pretty hard. That's something you can't really see in the videos, is you can't see how hard it actually does spin. But I'll flip this around. flip this back around. I need to get this thing off to the machine shop. That's that field block motor that we've run 30 pounds of boost on before. You can recognize it from the orange paint that's still on it. So, yeah, the Mustang's actually coming along quite well. I went and got all the fuel system stuff for it today and got most of the fuel lines running. I got to put the tank back up in the car. And that'll be covered in my next update video on it. But other than that, a little wiring and a couple of couplers and, finishing up fuel system, I should be able to try to start it maybe the first next week, hopefully. Yeah, the 439 so far has been very tough. About half the time I don't even shift it using a clutch. And it's survived so far, I don't know, probably 300, 6,000 RPM clutch drops. So, like I said, the carrier broke before anything else has, so. That carrier's got enough welding that I probably added about 10 pounds to it, so hopefully it'll never break again. Oh yeah, there'll definitely be a build series on that motor. I'm just trying to save that stuff for later, or until this motor that's in the car starts showing some signs of, failure. But so far, it's still compression test within 3 to 4 psi of what it did when I put the head back on it. I don't know about building another 3.8. The Series 3 motors are pretty strong in stock form. Yeah, they're usually pretty good to about 650, 700 horsepower with a set of head gaskets and stuff. They're not as weak as, say, the Grand National motors were, where you really start leaning on them, they start breaking crankshafts. And also, I've not decided what I'm doing with that Vitara yet. It's at the shop, so, I do have these boat motors, and I don't know, they need a lot of machine work and adapting and stuff, which I still also got a 2.3 turbo Ford motor. It'll run 6s like it is. I'm pretty positive. Just from the draggy data that I have collected in the background, it's pretty much there. But we're going to try to put this 3-cylinder in the 7s at least. That's kind of my goal. I would like to see it at least run a 80790. But Project Phoenix, it's got enough power. It ought to run low 6s, high 5s if you can get the car to launch. When I say get it to launch, I don't mean traction. The Vitara's got a G16 in it. Which I'm sure you probably know what I'm thinking to do with that, so it's probably going to be something for later. But the Vitara is not going to keep the 1.6. It will get some kind of motor swap or something in it. It's just too rough to kind of keep stock. Especially after sitting outside, 15 plus years. I'd like to swap the G16 in the little Geo that I drive every day. Just leave it stock. But I could also not leave it stock. Because I do have a bunch of junk sitting around. Now, that's not even a quarter of it. So there's plenty of junk laying around here. We can do just about anything. Yeah, pretty much I just need the stuff to get it mounted into the car. So, whatever axles and mounts I'm going to need. The rest of the stuff, I got that pretty much handled. Guess I could always just make the mounts and make my own axles, I guess. Yeah, just like Geopalooza, I've never actually made it to the Geo Jungle either. But even though it's like super close, it's only about a 40-minute drive for me. 40, 45 minutes, something like that. So if everybody would like to remind me, before the day of beforehand, I'll try to make it. Now, somebody will have to remind me though beforehand. I sure will not remember this when it comes up. And if anybody needs any Geo interior stuff, I've been trying to get a couple of y'all to come over here and get some of the stuff. It seems like every time I take one of these cars apart, I end up with more of it. And I don't throw anything away. Kind of like our little AMR 500. I don't know. But I mean, we got more Geo parts just sitting around readily available. I mean, this is the stuff that's sitting on my table. There's all kinds of stuff under the bench down here. So, and it's not only Geo stuff. So, there is a bunch of junk down here. If I cleaned it all out, I could probably put 2 Geos in this side of the garage. They don't take up as much room as the Torinos do. So. I know. We need to get busy on those bumpers. I think they'll actually be a big hit if you can pull them off. So, You get the bumper made, it may get you to make a whole front clip. Absolutely, Andrew. Between the three of us, we could build something cool. And we get Jason Scroggs in here. What's up, man? Yeah, you can make a lot of things. And you get the bumpers made, I might just pull that wing off Project Free Troll and bring it to you and let you make a mold of it too. And the one off of Phoenix. Because those would be really cool in fiberglass instead of the aluminum sheet. It would actually probably be heavier. Yeah, pretty much. Just looking at my face. Probably broke your phone screen. That wing was actually super easy to make. And I have the pattern right on the car. We get Dan to build the molds, and he would, I bet he would sell a bunch of them. Especially considering how hard the mid wing is to find, especially around here. You're not washed it, Dan. You just got to do it. That's what I do. If you think I've done anything that I felt like doing, I do this stuff. I don't. I just keep pushing. Just keep pushing forward. So I've got a billion things I need to do. They just don't ever get done. Which I'm still not drove that cylinder head off the machine shop either. I need to actually load all that stuff up and actually take time to drive it down there. No, Jason, I haven't sprayed it yet. It's been too rainy and I've been too busy to actually even finish wiring it up. But it is on the car. And I have test sprayed the fuel solenoid and it does work. So just got like 3 wires to finish hooking up and a switch. And, you know, then I can start tuning that through DCM too. Because the wonderful thing about micro squirt, mega squirt stuff is it has nitrous control too, and I can actually progress it in. Oh, it'll be on the bottle. It's there. It's on the car. and this is full, which is just a 5-pound bottle, but small of a shot, it'll last quite a while. So as long as the weather's clear this weekend, we should be able to try to make some test hits in it and see what happens. I don't know, turbo and nitrous. I thought about just sticking this back on there too. Just have all 3 power adders all on the same thing. And if that still ain't enough, I might throw that 64.5mm on there and compound turbo it too. At least it'll add some weight to the front end. I don't know, Jason. It's got either a 30 or 40 or a 50 shot in it. I don't remember what jets I put in it. We're just going to send it. Which, if it's a 50 shot, we're spraying about 100% of its factory rated power into it. So it's quite a bit. It's always full send. When I take that 9,000 RPM rev limiter off of it, it will be absolutely full send. Well, so far, Andrew, it don't seem to take any more fuel at 15 pounds of boost than it does at 20 at this point. So I don't know if we need a resolution of a 7-bar. Pretty much once this thing gets 15 pounds of boost, it uses about the same amount of fuel all the way up to 22. So I may actually turn the boost down on it when I do spray it, because I expect it to peak quite much higher. Well, I didn't really do anything to make it spin that high, other than the head porting I done and open up the intake track. It's still stock cam, stock bottom end, so really the only work done in the motor is the head and the valve springs that are in it. The orange XFI motor, I turned it 10,000 plus. Yeah, it's got 4.6 Cobra, 32 valve springs in it. It'll go until it goes boom, absolutely. I'm honestly surprised it's not blown a head gasket yet. But the plugs, so far, have looked beautiful every time I've ever pulled them out of it. So basically, when you start blowing air in something, it makes everything bigger. I don't think it's really losing any power at that RPM. It still pulls real hard up there. Speaking of, I don't know. I still got the rods and pistons out of the other motor and the bearings too. Let's see if I can find those as I throw everything around in the garage. But I'm going to show you one of the rod bearings out of the field 30-pound boost motor that I know 100% has been spun well over 10,000. If I wipe the dirt off of it here, but it's got a little scarring in it, but that bearing's still pretty nice. But that's one of the old rod bearings. I'm pretty sure, maybe a main. Yeah, that's a main, by the part number. But that motor, that's 200,000 mile motor. Which, who knows how many miles this one's got on it. I would say quite a few. But yeah, I thought about actually reusing those bearings. It just depends on the crank cleanup. It started to get a little surface rust on it. But in all seriousness, I would like to max overbore the field block motor and maybe have the crank offset ground. Maybe build a stroker out of it, a big bore stroker. Because what I'm hoping is the cylinder head we're probably not going to end up using the stock head, but he needs it for the measurements and patterns. He's actually talked about building a cylinder head for it, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Which apparently he's talked to David Vizard about the whole deal also, so hopefully we'll see what everybody comes up with, and then I'll apply the full send to it, I guess. But I don't know, guys. I'm going to give it another 3 minutes here, and I'm going to jump off here. We'll be on here for 45 minutes here in about 3 minutes. So we'll just so everybody knows, I have no clue what I'm doing, and when I look down this way and I start not talking, I'm pushing buttons down here on the bottom of the screen. So yeah, it would probably benefit from a cam now, but I can't have anything with more than the stock amount of lift with the valve spring setup that's in it. That's why in the cylinder head porting video, I never said anything about what the valve springs were, because you can use a 32 valve Mustang Cobra valve spring, but you get real close to, retainer to guide clearance and all that good stuff, and you get real close to also coil bind. So, as we all know, coil bind's a very bad thing and breaks a lot of stuff. Time flies when having fun. I guess so. I would like to be having even more fun, but the weather's not cooperating with us, so that's always great stuff too. Yeah, the valve springs probably do work well. It was pretty much, we started testing them, and it needed to been done the same day type deal, and we started digging through all his extra pieces that he had around the shop, and we literally looked through probably 5,000 valve springs, and he had a little tote labeled 4.6 dual overhead cam Cobra aftermarket spring, and we tested them, and everything was great. But another thing to note about those valve springs, that thing's had at least 2 to 3 valve jobs, so the valves are sunk slightly into the seats. so it raised the install height slightly. So basically, guys, in a normal head, a low mile head, they wouldn't work at all. But thankful to some sloppy machining from the past and some luck, they actually work. So it don't seem to have any problems. And I've only got the rev limiter set to 9,000 now, just for kind of a, hey, stupid, you don't need to be spinning this thing this hard type deal. Or usually I'll just spin something until it absolutely quits pulling and then shift. So it's more of a consistent sake thing. Same reason my car has two shift lights in it, and one comes on at 7,500 and the other one comes on at 8,500. So it takes me about 500 RPM to realize what's going on. You know, big glaring bright light in your eye. It's possible, Jason. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. Still kind of waiting on paperwork for it. It has a title, but it's kind of in a storage building and buried under stuff. And they just not dug it out yet. So I'm going to have to do something with it soon because it's taking a bay at the shop and it can't really sit outside without a top. And I'm not going to buy a top for it unless I can actually have it in my name. Goes back to the, you don't put money in something until it's yours type deal while it's technically mine. But there's lots of different things we could do with it. I mean, I could take the body off of it and, you know, use the frame under a Geo, I guess, if I wanted to, and make a rear-wheel drive one with all Geo parts, technically, Suzuki stuff. I mean, pretty much sky's the limit of what could be done with it. I mean, raise it, lower it, cut it up. 4-cylinder turbo, V8 turbo, V6 turbo, rotary. Got good old John Wilburn in here. Hey, John. So technically this isn't my first live stream. It is my second, and my first one was on with John. This one seems to be going quite a bit better, and my phone service is better because I actually got internet now. Thanks, John. Yeah, finally made it to 1,000, but I'm still lacking in watch hours though, which I know that stuff takes time to get. Me and Andrew's gonna have to go over to Dan's and get him focused on those bumpers, I guess. So yeah, it's just a point of figuring out what I'm gonna do with it. And I've run about 1,000 scenarios through my head, which that's what I do basically on everything I do. There's always something running in the background on every project, including the red 70 over there, which I don't anticipate it being red very much longer. Geo Metro Limo. I don't know about that. I always like kind of lightweight stuff when you mess with project stuff. Let's go in the complete opposite way, making something heavier. But you never know. I really don't know what I'm doing from one day to the next when it comes to project stuff. It just, the way it's always been, it just kind of happens. So, I mean, literally next week we could have a turbo on the big block over there. So, I don't know. I've actually run a bunch of different scenarios over on that car. And it comes down to sentimental stuff, and that's why I've not really changed a whole lot. And that's why I'm not super happy with the red. It's got a super nice paint job on it, but it's not the same car to me with it not being the same color it was. So. CW, what happened? The motor mounts had so much flex in them when you would launch a car that the throttle linkage was actually contacting the firewall lip, kind of like this right here. And what it done is it would eventually just pop past it, and when it would come back up, it would bend it over, something similar to that. And, kind of really, really jack things quite up. It's been an issue several times in the past, and it will never be a problem for about 99% of people that have these cars, because the stock stuff's oriented in a different position, but nothing detrimental at this point. But a set of solid motor mounts absolutely fixed it, and did help our traction quite a bit. You're absolutely right about that, Dan. I'm not sentimental about it at all. We can cut it all to pieces. I don't know, Andrew. I'm not necessarily trying to kill it, but you never know. But no, it was actually a pretty good car like it was. Actually kind of sad that it's going this route. But I don't know, Some cars die so others can live, and some cars die to show people that preach it for a long time on pages and forums that what they may have experienced in the past blowing something up isn't necessarily the rule. So let's just call Freetro a teaching tool at this point. Because I'm sure you and Dan remembered everybody thought I was absolutely crazy with 30 pounds of boost before on the field block motor. And here we are now. I don't know, I would say at least 300 of those 500 plus passes we made so far have been over 20 pounds of boost. And at least the last 100 or so have been up to 9,000 RPM, and it's still not showing any unhealthy signs. So, basically, the whole point of it was just kind of show everybody what can actually be done. And it's just real hard to get the data out of it consistently. And that's part of having a front wheel drive car. It don't matter what it is, they're never really consistent. But it usually runs right around the same numbers about 90% of the time. Density altitude is a definite big killer of a power adder car. And it's been ridiculous here lately, so. Oh, there's been plenty of them blowing up under 10 pounds. But you know as well as I do that you just can't throw a turbo on a stock ECM and hope for the best. Resistor mods or not, you got to actually have something that supports that stuff. Eventually I am going to have a better intake built for it. Yeah, a hop switch could definitely help, but once you step away from the stock ECM and throttle body, that's when things start to get real. But I'll show y'all something else. And this is something that most normal people don't see when they think about turbo and this stuff. That's how small the throttle blade is. You can't really see it from this side, but that thing's tiny. And that's also why they don't turn no RPM in stock form. It is good for fuel mileage and low end torque though. But I've still got that 2-barrel motor car carburetor I built when I went to the supercharger that I never put back on it. So it's not necessarily a matter of doing things right. You have to follow kind of a recipe when you do stuff. Basically, guys, most of the time when I throw this stuff together for these videos in that series, most of the stuff I just kind of throw it together and then I go back the rest of the week and fix stuff that I'm not personally happy with. But there's one thing I've learned over the years, that if you just do it right the first time, it makes life a lot easier later. I guess that's the video you sent me, Dan. It's Lonnie Halls. See you, Andrew. Yeah, that car seemed to run pretty well. I don't know what all his setup was, but it looks like it could be leaned on just a little bit harder, though. Which they can always be leaned on a little bit harder. This one I have included, it's still super safe on the tune. That's pretty much what they all are. Unless you just got tons of money to throw at a $500 car. Yeah, I've just looked up over a few times and end up with some junk that actually works together pretty well. So Really, the only expensive thing this thing has on is the sniper and the micro squirt setup. The rest of stuff's just eBay special junk, other than the ignition module. Oh yeah. I think I could put probably a couple of degrees more timing in it. Because the plugs look real happy in it, so I think there's a lot more in it. But these motors seem to like around 20 to 22 degrees with 20 plus pounds of boost, so kind of like an old school small block Chevrolet. They like a lot of timing lead, probably because the head's so crappy. Yeah, I would normally, not pull no timing out with the nitrous, but I do have it wrote in the tune to pull 2 degrees out of it, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully all that stuff goes real well. I'm just not sure how well it's going to go. Because I done thought we had to pop the head gasket by now, and so far everything seems pretty happy. It scared me a couple times. I thought it may have pushed a little coolant, and so far not so much. So, I mean, I'm not even putting no head bolts in this motor. It's still got the stock ones in it, which is sad because I've got a new set sitting on the shelf over there. But I didn't even bother to put them in it. Oh, it's got plenty of fuel thrown at it now. We're using about 28% of 400-pound injectors, so it's got quite a bit of fuel going through it. You should probably clean it up down low to go to a smaller injector. But that's something else I've been considering is running on straight methanol. Because it definitely has enough fuel system. And we got Nick the Van Man in here too. I see he got his small block Chevrolet swap van running and driving. Sounds good. Well, so far it's been like a 918 an eighth mile at 76 something miles an hour. So it's got enough mile an hour to run 860s, 870s an eighth mile. It just don't have the 60-foot too. To kind of put that in perspective, that is real high 13s in the quarter mile, 14.0. It's been a 14.30 in the quarter with me not running it out the full quarter. So really the whole goal is I really want the car to run in the high 7s an eighth mile, 80, 790s. I don't know if necessarily they ever get there, especially with stock motor, but the field block motor over there will absolutely go that. Yeah, I've been watching your videos, Nick. I dig the vans. Now it just needs a little nitrous or a turbo. But there is nothing wrong with a 305 either. So hopefully, if the weather holds out this weekend, hopefully we're going to make some faster passes. I just don't know how the car's going to react with the extra power. Got another short block, yeah. It never hurts to have a spare. Especially if you're going to try to do race car things with your van. That's why I keep spares for just about everything that I have. Everybody's here, I guess. When you head out to No Name Nationals, Nick, let me know and we can meet up and ride up together because I'll be coming pretty much right by your way. I'm pretty sure. You know, I'm just a little bit east of you. Yeah, 283 with 305 heads. You pair that thing with something with a 242, 246 duration at 50 thousandths and somewhere around the low 500s in the lift on a 108 lobe separation, you'll have yourself a nice little screamer there. And probably still be well drivable. Something previous to YouTube stuff, I had a little 305 that run 690s and 8 mile. Turn it 7,500. It's a fun little motor. I just not decided what car I'm going to bring yet to No Name Nationals. Yeah, all done at 5,000. That's probably your cam and your intake and probably your carburetor and your manifolds. Kind of like the geo stuff that I do. When you start opening stuff up and spinning RPMs, magical stuff starts happening. It just depends on how far you ever want to take something to actually get to that point. Yeah, I'm not afraid to spin anything. I will give a motor all the RPM it wants. And there's not ever a point where, you know, you can tell when something falls off. So it's like this big block back here, you know, it's all done by 6,000. And it's more goes the camshaft and the intake. But it does make glorious amounts of torque. Yeah, I would say it's more the lobe separation on your cam, your intake, and the log manifolds that are kind of keeping your RPM down. Not so much the cam, but the performer intake's about as good as a stock LG4 305 intake. And you're pretty much running the stock. You know, let's just say, let's go ahead and say an LG4, which is HO 305 manifold. So your motor's not far off, but you know, it should make that motor should make pretty decent power and torque for what it is. And especially in a heavier Astro van, it should pull pretty good. Should be a world of difference over the 4.3. But it's like I would put more stuff out on stuff like that if the video's done as well as the geo videos do. But we'll just keep plugging away on Project Freetro, and I'll work on stuff on the background on that. Yeah, those are good numbers for that setup. Because, you know, your HO305, it was only 190 horsepower, I think. Maybe 185. So 231 at 4,700 and 275 at 3,700 is actually real good numbers. Especially for the intake and manifolds and, you know, 2-inch exhaust. That's not bad. It makes it fun to drive anyway. And that's what it's about most of the time. It's like me, usually stuff just kind of goes off the deep end. I start messing with something, and next thing you know, it's a race car. And it's not necessarily the most fun thing to drive around all the time. So it's like the big block. I want to change a bunch of stuff on it, but it's a heck of a street motor. Hey, everything's going well, Skinny J. Welcome to the channel. Do a little bit of everything here. Mess with a little bit of all kinds of stuff, from Geo Metros to big block 4s to Turbo Buick stuff to, you know, Mustang stuff. So the fun front wheel bearing. Speaking of, that's something I need to put in Project Freetro too. I need to put some wheel bearings in the front of it. It might actually pick it up and make it faster, because they're actually pretty bad. They've been bad the whole time I've had the car. Yeah, you can't beat that, Nick. It's super fun stuff. Oh, what my thing's done. Well, that'll make actually a pretty nice little difference in the brakes going to the later stuff. That's why I've not changed wheel bearings in the other car yet. I just haven't run across it in the junkyard. Because that's what I'm going to do to it too. Most because I want to put 12mm wheel studs in it. Because we still have quite a few weak links. So I know you missed the first half of this video, but you did win the giveaway for the 1,000 subscriber JC Road. So what I need you to do is I need you to email me at HotRodGuyGarage@gmail.com. And just look like you're a Geo guy. So just send me maybe some parts that you're looking for or something. And I've got you some stuff I'm going to send you, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to pick something else cool out for the giveaway. And, you know, I've got a bunch of Geo stuff here too. So if you actually need anything, you know, like detrimentally need, I have quite a bit of stuff. There'll more than likely be a Geo at the No Name Nationals. it will probably be Project Phoenix, the V6 mid-engine turbo car. I don't think Project Freetro would pass the tech. Most because the fuel cell's mounted in the passenger floorboard, and so is the battery. And you know, our new little friend here is going over there too. So may not be necessarily the safest thing, but it does have all braided fuel lines, and all that stuff is secured with grade 8 bolts, and you know, it's as safe as I can make it. So I would like to actually bring both of them. I'd actually like to bring 3 cars, which would be my Red 70 also. That car in the burnout contest would be an absolute blast. Because that's what it likes to do, is spin tires. So maybe I just need to hook up a 2-car trailer to the back of the 70 and pull 2 Geos on the back of it on a trailer. Geo Prism, Toyota Corolla. Those were actually really good cars as far as quality was. I can't say the same for the, you know, the Isuzu, Isuzu variants. You know, the Storms. Well, they look cool. I wish they were on a little better platform. But the Prisms and the Metros, you know, they're actually pretty good cars too. Along with the Trackers and the Vitaras. And I just wish Suzuki would have had a little more performance-oriented options, because super lightweight platforms, guys, they just beg for that stuff. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of, you know, 80s to 90s Isuzu products at all. There's nothing wrong with them, and if that's what some of you guys like, that's cool, but they're not for me. It's kind of like you know, I worked on German cars there for a while. I don't have necessarily warm and fuzzies about those either. If we get Andrew to ever get his Swift back running, you know, there would be a twin cam 1.3 running around. But I've searched for one of those motors that would be reasonable, and I've not been able to find one. And that's why I think that the Vitara is going to donate its G16 later on down the road. Yeah, Andrew's actually got a lot of cool stuff sitting around. And old Dano's probably got the cleanest Geo under hood that I've ever seen. Let me flip this camera around one more time since JC's in here, and I'm going to show him one of the other things I'm going to send him. So I had some stickers made, and the first person actually going to get some of these is going to be JC. So this was just kind of a test run, and sorry about my fingers looking dirty. That's that good old POR 15 that literally never washes off. But I don't know, JC. I've not pulled the motor out of it yet to even look, but I will eventually pull it out. And I don't know, I can always make an adapter, or I could make car rear-wheel drive. I don't know. It's not against me to cut something completely up and do something else with it. But if the bell housing doesn't match, it will be a rear-wheel drive G16. And that will be easy to make work and have traction. Yeah, POR 15. It's, I don't know, there's mixed feelings about it. I like it okay. I've never had a problem with it. But you read some reviews, and some people kind of scare you, but prep work's everything. But don't ever get on your skin, because it don't ever come off. And that's another thing. I'm probably fixing to be covered in POR 15, because I don't know if any of y'all seen the Buick Grand National video where I put a floor pan in it, but that was an Ohio car for most of its life. It actually had warranty doors put on it when it was 3 years old. So it's not necessarily the cleanest, rust-free thing that there is. But it's not as bad as you think it is either. But it is going to get a thorough coating inside and out of POR 15. That was the vert that was at the Huntsville meet, wasn't it, Dan? That thing was pretty cool. I wish I'd looked at it a little more, but there's always later, right? But I'm not in a hurry to do that swap at all. Like I said before, I'd like to put it in the one that I drive every day. Yeah, it's pretty common for the 3.8 to go away in those cars. A lot of people are kind of scared of them, and they are a little finicky to work on if you don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you've messed with any of that stuff, Nick, but they're pretty hateful little motors. Pretty much you have to cut your wrist on the core support and make your sacrifice to them every time you work on them, which is easy enough to do because the core supports on the G bodies are like razor blades. The one at the shop's actually going to get a turbo LS put in it, mostly because it's cheaper than actually fixing all the problems that the 3.8 has, if you can believe that. But while I love the turbo Buicks to death, some cars, they need other stuff swapped in them. If it was a super nice car, that customer, he actually has multiples of these cars, and I've posted some pictures on the community tab on my page of his other one. It's got the 18-inch GNX wheels on it. Now that car is super, super nice. So it's going to stay Turbo Buick forever. And this Ohio car that he's got, it's a little rough around the edges. We're going to swap it and just make a fun fun drag car out of it, kind of. Yeah, they're definitely fiddly. To be honest, there's not a whole lot of people that actually will work on them anymore, um, other than most Turbo Buick specialty shops. Um, I just happened to cut my teeth on this journey of automotive world on, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s stuff. Been doing this stuff way longer than I ever wanted to. But they're absolutely kind of fun to diagnose sometimes when you're dealing with an OBD1 system that tells you that one thing's wrong and it's something completely opposite. But that would actually be cool, or maybe a 455 Buick with a turbo on it would be pretty awesome. I think it will surprise a bunch of people when I do swap this car. I am going to try to make it look as stock as possible. I don't know, and when I say stock as possible, I'm going to try to dress the LS up and make it kind of look like the Turbo Buick layout. And hopefully it'll end up being cool. The problem with the 455, you would probably have to put a pretty good sized turbo on it to keep it from actually overspinning it and killing power. But yeah, a couple of small frame 70 millimeter T4s on 455 would, make all its power below 5,500 RPM and probably light off pretty quick. And would definitely be a better route than, race gas sucking big blocks. Like in the background here. That turned out to be one of those miscalculations that we were trying to push it up to the edge of pump gas limits and super tight quench stuff, and we just kind of went over that. But I am thinking about turboing that motor. But that motor cranks about 240 on cranking compression in my red car. So it's on up there a little bit. But I don't know, the Grand National's gonna be a cool project. I just don't know how long it's gonna take. But she's got another one that's gonna come to the shop after that one that's actually a pretty cool car too. That I have been urging him to leave the Turbo Buick in it. But that'll be a surprise for later. It's a very fast Turbo Buick. And when I say fast, in Turbo Buick speak, that's a low 10-second, high 9-second car. So, in a quarter. So, it's got a lot of vintage cool goodies on it. Anybody that really knows me is I kind of dig cool old stuff and junk. So, but basically, Ford and muscle car stuff, GM muscle car stuff, that stuff's kind of my go-to thing. The Geo stuff is a fun, cheap side project. It's something I drive every day. So, that's why we got quite the variety of stuff here. I don't know about an NA motor. It goes back to, you would have to have a lot of compression, a lot of camshaft, and a lot of cylinder head to make power, unless he was, just wanting something to drive. But I don't know if I would even waste the time to build an old school 3.8 or 4.1 nowadays with all the Series 2 and 3 stuff out, because the front wheel drive GM stuff uses basically all the same bell housing pattern. So what that means is you could pluck Series 2 or Series 3 out of a junkyard Park Avenue or an Impala, Grand Prix variant, and the bell housing pattern is the same as like a rear wheel drive 2.8 S10. So let your mind wander with that a little bit. And there's billions of them, and they're dirt cheap, and they make good power in stock form. Kind of like the Series 3 that's in Project Phoenix. I'm real happy with the way that car came out. And I probably should actually drive it more. Yeah, 300 crank out of a naturally aspirated 4.1 is actually pretty good. Which Kenny Bell has also been known to pull some, some rabbits out of some hats over the years of making stuff happen. It just, when you got the resources to build cool stuff like that, it makes it kind of easy. But I would absolutely guarantee you that Joe Mondello had his hands in those cylinder heads on that motor. Especially in the time frame, I would guarantee it. But sometimes, guys, you just can't do everything yourself. When it comes to that stuff, when you have goals. Cylinder head makes or breaks a motor, that's for sure. So it's kind of like my big block back there. It's kind of a shame that those heads are on the camshaft and the intake and headers that they're on. But I was trying to build a street motor, and that's what I built. But I built a race gas street motor, which is not very cool as far as driving it. And I could have had just as much fun with a 9-to-1 motor. But well, Nick, I guess I'm going to jump off here. And the rest of you guys that are watching, because we're down to 4 watchers at this point, and we've been on here over an hour and a half. Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with staying on the street side of stuff. Over the years, I've built so much, let's just say junk, because in the end, that's all it usually is, or ends up being at the end. But I've built so much stuff over the years that it seems to get out of hand sometimes. It's like, well, I can do this, and I can spend just little bit more money or a little bit more time, or I can make this and this will work. And then next thing you know, you got a darn race motor that's no fun to drive around, which isn't necessarily the case with that car. It's a big block and it likes to drink fuel, and at $10 a gallon, it don't get, it's not nice sometimes. So absolutely nothing wrong with a smallish sided street motor. Yeah, the rabbit hole. It's always going down the rabbit hole. Oh yeah, it's easy to go from $1,500 to 68. But it's like the Geo JC Project Free Throw. I'm just kind of letting it go down that rabbit hole. I try to take everything to its potential before I change something, but when you're on a week-to-week time frame, sometimes you don't get to really explore that potential. But as far as the car being fast, I was more than happy with it with the supercharger on it. It was an absolute blast to drive, and was still drivable to a point where we didn't have a welded front differential or set of slicks on it, and it was a hoot. And I would have probably left it like that if it wasn't for the series having so much traction that we're just going to constantly evolve into something else. And I've still got the supercharger set up. It's sitting here on the floor. All the brackets are sitting on the floor. And maybe one day it'll make it on the one I drive every day. But once you open the rabbit hole or the black hole, it goes pretty quick. You just gotta have enough sense to say, hey, this is my point, and I don't want to go no further, and I'm happy. Oh, I'd say it's a lot smoother than the 4.3. You have more pulses, exhaust pulses, which helps smooth it out also. So you gained big over the 4.3 and probably didn't lose no fuel economy either, just to be honest. Yeah, you just got to pick a point where you're happy. It's easier to do it on stuff like that back there, go down the rabbit hole, than Geo stuff, because when you're at the point where Free Throw is now, that while anybody could do it, it does take quite a bit of tuning skill to make it live. Which is why you get a lot of people on the forums and stuff saying that they blow up at 8 to 10 pounds of boost and you can't turn them over a certain RPM. And I don't know if a lot of you Geo guys have noticed that, but usually when somebody posts about modding one, it gets shut down pretty quick. And if I see it, I'm usually the first one to say something otherwise. Because no matter what, guys, it don't matter if it's a 1-cylinder, a 2-cylinder, a Geo Metro, a Miata, a big block, a small block. Pretty much everything in that series could apply to any motor, and you just come down to a few things, which is airflow, airflow, airflow. You got to get air in, air out. You just apply the same stuff to different platforms. The way I done this Geo would be no different than I would do a turbo on that big block. Size wise, yes. The way I done it, probably not. So pretty much it's just, and that's part of the reason why my channel name's HotRodGuyGarage is, that's what I grew up on. It's hot rod stuff. It was go fast stuff. It was big block stuff. Use what you got, build it out of junk type stuff. And that's the way I've always grew up, and I've never been rich, so everything's kind of budget. People see stuff like my 70 back there and don't think it's budget, but it absolutely is. Yeah, there's a lot of groups like that have turned into like, now, I'm not going to fire out here and say Corvette owners groups, but there's a lot of them like that are. I'm not going to say that they're necessarily wrong, because you have purist groups in every car enthusiast group, which is cool. Um, used to, I wouldn't look at a car like my 70 or my 71 that was stock. It just never interested me, because I've always been about, I like fast stuff. I like to go fast. I like to do burnouts, and I don't like stock stuff most of the time. But the older I get, the more I can kind of appreciate stuff like that, all the way down to like your van or Geo Metros. If it's super nice, by all means keep something stock. If it's rough or high mileage, or you don't really care about it, have fun with it, because that's what it's about in the end. It's all about having fun, not what somebody else thinks. So, which sometimes gets you a lot of hate. But you got to think 4.3 is just a small block with two cylinders locked off the back of it. So you really didn't, you know, mutilate the van. If anything, you made it better and probably get better fuel economy. So, it just depends on what you want to do. Regardless, there's nobody else paying for your own projects, so make it your own. And like the bumper sticker I had made. That's what it's about. Fun and enjoyable, or interesting and enjoyable. Like I said, if we were all built the same or like the same stuff, the world would be a boring place. But all right, guys. But I am going to jump off here at this point. Uh, JC, make sure you email me uh, if you got, or if you have Facebook messengers. Uh, you can message me there. Pretty easy to find. Uh, just get in contact with me, and we'll talk about what I'm going to give you, and I'll see if I can help you out on something. Because that's my main goal. I just wanted somebody to get something they would appreciate or want. So, all right, guys. Maybe I can figure out how to turn the chat off. I don't even know how to do that. So, I've been pushing buttons trying to figure this thing out, and it's just kind of goofy. So, I guess, guys, just stay tuned, because there will be another Geo video in the next few days. It just depends on the weather. So, if you need me, holler at me. I'm not hard to get a hold of. So, I'll see y'all next time, guys.